In the fourth episode, Jocasta comes back out of the palace, and Oedipus is inside, and he's very upset about what's been going on. He's restless. And to try to get some sort of guidance or wisdom shared by the gods for the situation, even though Jocasta proclaimed in the previous episode that she did not believe in the prophecies of the gods, she makes a sacrifice on an altar. Now, the altar is a fixture, it is a part of the stage in the theater of Dionysus, and it is an altar for sacrifices. Usually to Dionysus, but any other god that needed or that the individual wanted to make that sacrifice to. She places some flowers on the altar. Within moments, we have a messenger who comes from the city of Corinth. That messenger brings some very, as he even says, some happy news, but also some tragic news. The news that is happy is that Oedipus is about to be made the king of Corinth and the whole isthmus. The tragic news is that Oedipus's father is dead. When Oedipus hears this, he rejoices because what that means is that Oedipus's father, the man he believes is his father, has died of natural causes. However, the messenger reveals to Oedipus that the man who died, Polybus, is not his father, was not his father. And the story he shares is that he gave Oedipus to this couple when Oedipus was a baby. And he shares the story that that baby, that child, that Oedipus, that infant Oedipus, was found hanging in a tree with his ankles tied together. He had been left in the tree to die. But he takes that baby and he gives the baby to Polybus and Merope in Corinth to raise as their own. Jocasta hears this and she realizes that Oedipus is that child that she tried to give away. Oedipus is indeed her son. She is devastated, as you can imagine. She goes into the palace and says, "These are the last words that I have for you forever." She never comes back out. Oedipus believes that the reason that Jocasta is behaving this way is because she believes that he's a slave, that he is not of any sort of noble birth, and that she had married a commoner. He is still unable to process what's happening, still holding on to that last thread of hope that the prophecy didn't come true. In the fourth episode, we meet the servant who actually took the baby from Jocasta and took it into the desert to hang it on the tree. What he reveals to Oedipus is that the prophecy is true. Jocasta gave the baby to this man to do that because she wanted to avoid the prophecy. But the servant wasn't able to do it. He was not able to kill a child. So he gives that baby to the messenger that we saw in the previous episode. And he, in turn, takes the baby to Corinth. And that's how Oedipus winds up there. This is the climactic scene of the play. Oedipus has found the murderer of King Laius, and the murderer is him. He is the murderer. He goes into the palace. Of course, the chorus appears with a very somber ode. And Something that has to be pointed out as the fifth and final episode starts, and the fifth episode in Oedipus Rex is the longest episode in the play. This episode starts with something called a messenger speech. Acts of violence could not be portrayed on the Greek tragic stage. They happened off stage. If it was a death, if it was a murder, we see the effect or the impact of that murder being wheeled on stage. A bloody effigy, a bloody body is wheeled out to show what happens off stage. The messenger comes out to describe what happened off stage. And after that, we will see the effect or the impact. What the messenger reveals in the fifth episode is that Jocasta is dead. She hangs herself. She cannot stand the truth, the fact that the prophecy was not avoided and came true. When Oedipus finds his wife hanging there in their bedroom, he is overcome with grief. What he does next is what is the most horrific part of the story, as if it wasn't tragic enough. Jocasta had two pieces of jewelry on either side of her gown, her dress. He takes them off and then proceeds to gouge his eyes out with them, blinding himself. All of this is revealed in the messenger speech. Eventually, within moments, the doors open and Oedipus comes out, his eyes bloody from this act of blinding himself. He is in misery, he is suffering, he is blind. His only wish is to be turned out, forced to leave the city, to walk in the desert alone, and to eventually die there. Creon intervenes. He said, "This suffering has no place in public in the public for everyone to see. Come into the palace. We will deal with you there." Creon becomes king, and Oedipus's children, the two girls, Antigone and Ismene, are raised by Creon. Oedipus also has two sons, uh, Polynices and Eteocles, I believe is his name. I will correct that if I'm wrong. But they're grown men at this point and they can fend for themselves. But the girls are very young. Creon agrees to care for them and takes them into the palace. But Oedipus can have nothing to do with them. This is a tragic end to possibly one of the most famous tragedies, certainly in Greek tragic theater, but in theater history. It is possibly the most produced Greek tragedy that we have. And once again, it was performed during the city Dionysia in the year 429, some say 430 BC, but somewhere around that time.